Hey YouTube. It's Saturday, October 12th. Welcome to the live stream. It's pretty darn cold in a lot of the United States today. I know some people have had snow last week. It's getting to be winter time. Hey, Terry's Tropical Tanks. How's my sound, please, sir? Um, and Terry asked, how's the fish room? The fish room is doing fine. I still don't have any breeding behavior out of my Virgikinas. Uh, and the one male is what I think is a male, is still just so wild. It just, if I vary the routine any at all, if I feed them and don't walk straight out of the room, that fish will go berserk. If I like feed feed that tank, I feed that tank last. And if I feed that tank and then walk out of the room and then accidentally come back in the room again, that fish will try to jump straight out of the tank. I've got uh, I've got plastic light diffuser over the tank, the solid kind, and he will just basically bounce off of that light diffuser 3 or 4 times trying to jump out of that tank. I've never seen a fish that after a year in a tank wasn't acclimatized to the fact that it was no longer in the wild. And hey, Corona Ken. Just home from AE. How was it? You'll have to give us your updated report on the AE. Did you get to meet Joseph while you were there? Did Joseph make it? Joseph and his green mohawk. Uh, hey, HC Aqua, welcome to the stream. Met Susie Q and Elizabeth, one fish, two fish. Nice, Corona Ken. Was it well attended? I mean, was it packed or was it just there were people there? I think we've all been hearing the rumors that this may have been the last aquatic experience. HC Aqua says saw New York Gold and Mike Howe there too. Awesome. It's really great to go to a place like that and get to meet real live YouTubers and just fish fans, just people that love fish the way that we love fish. Ken says it was on the verge of packed. Good. Very steady. Awesome. Well, maybe AE will live to fight another day then. I really enjoyed their version of a show when it was in Chicago and I went. I've yet to go to Aquashella. I wanted to go this year to Chicago, but Life just threw us too many curves here this time of year, and we couldn't basically afford to go. My wife's gone to Michigan right now, so that took precedent over aquatic experience. Excellent vendors, A-Coop, Dust and Flip, many companies. Great samples. I like the local club auction swap as opposed to big conventions. Yeah, as far as a chance to really get to know people, to really see what your local people have, what they're breeding, what they've got an overflow of that they can bring to a local club auction or swap. Locals are the best, and you just have to count on which local you're connected to the best. But I'm glad to hear that AE was a success. That lots of people attended. That's always a good sign. HC Aqua says, I had my local club's auction last night. It was packed. Yeah. Well, this is the time of year when people start thinking more about aquariums, more about spending time watching their tanks. You know, when the weather gets bad outside, that's when we always turn inward. Not as many plant vendors as previous years. Well, you said Dustin was there. Flip Aquatics was there. Flip used to do plants some. I'm not sure if they're still doing them or not. HC Aqua says we had our annual show too. That's why. Yeah. Annual shows are always a great place to, with a local club annual show, you get a chance to get to know the people in your local area a lot better. You know, what their projects are, what their goals are. Well, Ken, the way you've been growing plants lately, you should probably start your own plant vendor. Not to say anything bad about the plant vendors, but last year's crop was much more diverse and better health. Huh. Well, I guess I'm not privy enough to the that much to plant vendors, so I probably wouldn't notice so much. Ken's laughing and saying he supplies 3 local live fish stores. Yep, I remember you telling me about your plant growing exploits. I have just never really been very good at plant growing. I'm not sure exactly why I'm so clueless about it, but that's just been my experience. On the upside, I can grow moss like crazy. Something that I do that's non-beneficial to plants, regular plants, really is beneficial to moss because I can grow moss like crazy. I guess it's probably neglect. Neglect grows moss like crazy and doesn't take care of plants very well. The, the one thing that I did not care too much for at AE was the lack of sellers. That 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 always kind of leaves me cold a little bit. Getting stir-fry eggs as we speak. Awesome. I I'm used to large conventions having lots of vendors that are actually selling stuff and a lot of local people that are selling stuff in their rooms. I don't know, that Ohio cichlid extravaganza was more to my liking of how old school fish conventions are run, where it's a lot of vendors that are in the show themselves, but there are a lot more people that are in the hotel and are selling fish or plants or fish food or fish accoutrement out of their rooms. Ken says, yeah, one vendor looked like he cleared out PetSmart and put them on his table. Yeah. Well, there's always going to be people that are not completely on the up and up that are working as vendors, but it's buyer beware. You have to be prepared to recognize what's a good deal and what's just someone trying to make a buck. You can't blame those people. They tote all that stuff around and they bring it to the show, but they really don't want to take it away from the show, have to transport it again. So usually you can make some good deals. Usually you can wheel and deal with those people, and usually you can make really good deals. And towards the end of a show, you can usually get a great deal. HC Aqua says Scarlet Endlers just had more fry. And Ken said yes, had a contractor doing some work at home, so I was torn between the two places. Yeah, that's you got somebody in your house tearing stuff up, you better be there watching. I always prefer to stick close to home when something like that's going on. Plus, you guys had the beauty of being close to home going, so you didn't have to fly in or drive a long way in. A lot of times you're hours and hours and hours away from home when you go to one of those shows. ZooMed gave great food samples and API loaded up my bag with stress coat and stress zyme. Very generous. That's awesome. I still have some of the stuff left over from what I got at AE 2 something years ago now. But yeah, it behooves those people to treat their guests well. That always makes you want to go back. If you can walk in and get enough swag to feel like you paid for your tickets in swag, then that always leaves you with a good feeling, whatever else you get at the show. I do remember that AE was having some really decent speakers this time. Did you say trick or treat? It's getting to be that trick or treat time of year. Cornerkin said, "Lo, there was lots of candy for the taking." Yep. Did you get a chance to go and see any of the speakers, Ken? Or are you just there for the vendors? Didn't say hello to Corey, but met Katie. I haven't met Katie. You got me there. I've met Corey several times, but I have not met Katie. She seems like a wonderful person. She seems really down to earth and like a generous sort. I know she really liked Jim, and Jim's a great guy, so anyone that thinks as highly of him as she did can't be all bad, because she's made the correct diagnosis about Jim. One of the things that I thought about for a topic today was when you have an issue in your home, and utterly non-fish related, but hey Joel, welcome to the stream, man. If you, like, say you also have dogs and cats, and you come down with a case of fleas. It was pretty warm and dry this summer, and my cats spend a lot of time outside, so we basically got fleas this year. You have to be very careful what kind of um, pesticides or treatment methods that you use to try to kill those fleas off. It's really critical that you use non-bomb kind of, and by bomb I mean the cans that you basically set off and fill the entire room or the entire house with spray. That spray is going to be highly detrimental to your fish, and it causes you to have to think outside the box a little bit about how you handle a situation that normally you just might get the DDT pesticide out and just spray the heck out of your house. You know, one of the ways to fight fleas is vacuuming. So you need to do heavy vacuuming regularly instead of um, those of you who keep pets will recognize that many of the types of collars and liquids that you put on your pets are becoming less and less effective as far as killing fleas. And partly this is because the pet industry is beginning to recognize that many of the chemicals that they were using were actually detrimental to your pets. Hey Punchy, welcome to the stream. How's Pam doing today? So what I'm trying to get at here is to encourage you to think outside the box. You can use sprays or foams that are plant material based, like peppermint or clove oil based. There are different kinds of, one of the most simple ways, not Nola Jane Fishrich, they cause behavioral problems, mess with their brains. Yeah, it's kind of scary what we used to use to kill fleas on our four-legged friends, how dangerous that stuff was, how much harm it was causing. Hey, Tom Patterson, welcome to the stream. And not Nola Jane, welcome to the stream too. You can do something as simple as Maple Street Aquatics, welcome to the stream, man. You can do something as simple as take a light bulb, a green party bulb, or a green Christmas bulb. In my experience, works best. But you can take that light bulb and a sticky pad or a rat sticky trap. There are a lot of different kinds of things that you can get that are highly sticky, pieces of paper and stuff like that. Hey, Aquatic Nest, welcome to the stream. If you will take that light bulb and set it up in such a way that it is, I don't know, 10 inches off the ground, 8 inches off the ground, if you've got something you can clip that light bulb onto. Hey, Fish Tropic. And then put that sticky paper very close, like underneath or slightly to one side of that light bulb, fleas will naturally jump at that light because they see it as a heat source, and that's one of the things that they recognize to jump on when one of your pets walks through an area, or when you walk through an area. They sense the heat going by and they jump at it. So if you use a light bulb as a heat source, and my personal experience is that green works best. I don't know why. I'm not sure what that does to the heat signature of the bulb, but you will end up with a stick. If you've got fleas in your house or wherever you're trying to use this method, you will end up with a full sticky paper full of fleas because they will have jumped at the light and missed and landed on that sticky paper and be trapped. And those are the kinds of methods that you can use um, to end a flea infestation that will not cause detrimental harm to your fish. If you do end up having to spray, or if you're having some kind of painting, or some kind of heavy chemical painting, or some process done in your house, like maybe somebody spraying cabinets or something like that, if you do have to use some kind of airborne chemical and it's going to be really strong, then I would suggest that you turn off all circulation to the tank, that you literally bag the tank, wrap plastic around it where no air can get in for a while. This is not something you want to do for a long period of time, but it is something that you can do for a short period of time. Turn off air to the tank so that air is not being pushed into the tank through a pump or some system that you have operating. There's really no way to prevent airborne chemicals from getting in a tank if it's being run through a air system. I don't know, you might you might have some kind of filtration set up that's made to remove contaminants from the air, but I would still suggest that if it's not going to be a 10-hour time, that you shut down your air to the tanks, where air stones are having air driven through them, so that you're not pulling in any chemicals in any manner. They're not floating in because you've got the tank bagged, and they're not being pushed in because your chemical filtration, your biological filtration is shut down. The less amount of time that you can go without running that stuff. I think our basic understanding is that in about an hour, biological bacteria that's in like a sponge filter or a canister filter without new water being pushed over it, and basically without oxygen being pushed around it, the bacteria will begin to die. They won't all die, but they will die back a great deal. So you're looking at kind of an hour time limit on something like that. if this is going to be some kind of chemical exposure that's going to last for a day or several days, then you might think about literally setting up an air pump outside of your house where it's sheltered but is pulling in fresh air from outside to supply all your tanks, and then bagging them on the inside of the house so that they're free from any airborne contaminants. And those are the kinds of things that we as fish keepers need to think about, that we need to think outside the box, that we don't need to just do whatever we used to do, or that we don't need to not think about our fish and their well-being. Hey, 44 Mag Guy, welcome to the stream. We just need to recognize that whatever's going on in our house, our fish room, excuse me, is also going to affect our fish. They can't help but be part of the same air system that is in our house. So if you set fire to a pan full of hot dogs in the kitchen, then the fish tank in the dining room on the other side of the wall is probably going to have a lot of hot dog smoke in it. It's just natural for us to begin to equate our fish tanks and how they are a part of our houses, a part of our fish rooms, a part of our, if you're lucky enough to have a large area that's set aside just for fish, then you will probably not be doing the same kinds of things in that area that you would if your fish room is basically your house. But it's just, I just want to try to give examples to people that make them think outside the box, that make them look at the issues and problems that they have in fish keeping in new ways, in ways that are not what you read on the internet or not what you read in books. Terry's Tropical Tank says, I have found the normal sprays people will use that are pyrethrin based are okay to spray in the fish room. The airborne smell is not toxic to the fish in my experience. Well, that's kind of surprising to me. I would tend to err on the side of not adding pyrethrins to my fish tank if possible. But maybe your experience of it is, how you use normal sprays may have a great deal to do with how those sprays will affect your fish, how atomized the pyrethrins are. If you're just using a normal pump spray bottle, then yes, I think it's quite easy to spray what you need to spray without getting so much of the pyrethrins airborne. But if you're using some kind of compressed air, hey Haley, welcome to the stream. When when are we going to get pond videos, Haley? I'm ready. I'm ready for a pond. I'm just talking today about Haley says when they call me back, I'm ready too, Dwayne. I bet you are. Have you had any more luck getting adult rope fish brought in, or rope fish that are old enough to probably really be ready to breed? I mean, you don't want to get them too old, but you want to get them adult enough to where that you don't have to raise them up to get them ready to breed. Not yet. I have a few companies looking for me. You might even talk to hobbyists at large. I've got to admit, rope fish are not that common. You see people that have them, but I rarely see anyone trying to breed rope fish. It's not something that I've ever seen before. Well, Haley, my advice is to let the pond people do their job. Let them tell you what you need, what they think you need, and to do it the way they see fit. But I would also suggest that you stand your ground on things that are really important to you, that you figure out what's really important to you, like things that might possibly leak and be detrimental to your house, uh, the types of liners they're using, the types of ways to keep that. You're dealing with fish that are used to being in the high 80s anyway most of the time. And so if they design that pond in such a way that just allows the heat to go straight out of that pond, just let the 60-degree basement concrete suck all the heat right out of the tank continuously. And believe me, it will in a basement, because basements stay the temperature of the ground, and it's usually pretty darn cold. It's usually in the 60s. Haley says, I defer to the experts, but I'm the rope fish expert, and I've spoken with Ed a lot, and he knows what I'm shooting for. That's good. It's good to know that you guys are on the same page before that begins to happen. Well, we've been kind of short of subjects today, so I'll probably wrap this up unless someone can entangle us in a topic worth talking about. I'm I've been up since about 6:30 a.m. this morning, and I didn't go to bed very early last night. My wife's on her yearly sojourn to the upper part of Michigan, Leonau, I think is how you pronounce it. Her son has a cabin there, and She likes to go up there and spend time with him. I'm down to 6 bickers. I have no clue what's killing them. I've had a shit day, pardon my French, and this bitcher thing is baffling me and breaking my heart. Bickers are I've never had any experience at all, Haley, with breeding bickers. So you're already way out in front of me as far as that goes. I don't even know who I'd talk to about breeding bickers. I guess the guys you got them from, the Spartan guys, might have it's the same old Terry's Tropical Tanks has to go do the groundwork to do a 125 show tank that will have 14 filament barbs, 11 denison barbs as the main fish. Those barbs get pretty big, so you probably got a pretty good crowd for a 125 there. Haley, I'm kind of trying to cast around to think about what it is that bicker babies need. I mean, I know that it's water. They are eating, but fry just keep dying on me. I'm seeing them eat, but I keep waking up to dead ones. I stopped with the microworms because I think there was a problem and switched to Corey's fry food. They seem to be eating that, but I still lost 2 more last night. I covered their tank to see if the dark helps. I gotta admit, Haley, you got me completely out of my depth here as far as offering you advice about how I have no clue. Shallow water with good flow and temp, and I'm totally stumped. Good flow. I wonder if that's your issue. The way your flow is set up, the way your, it could be anything. It could be temperature. It could be um, hardness of the water. There are so many different things that can affect babies. Much worse, fry, much worse or much more adversely than adults. Adults can pretty much survive that kind of problems. They've got a better shot at adjusting. Try green water. Dwayne, I remember you talking about feeding fry bacteria from it. Well, it's not really bacteria. What it is it's rotifers, it's amoebas, it's little tiny things, life that's living in that water, green water. Um, it, it's it's all that kind of stuff, which is really small and alive. That's good food for fry. Now it's better probably for very tiny fry. They they will stand a better chance at surviving off of green water life, because it's going to take a lot of amoebas or a lot of rotifers or a lot of the different kinds of creatures that can survive in green water to feed a fish.
But a really young fry, sometimes their mouths and their throats are so small that they can't really swallow stuff that is bigger. They have big enough mouths. The microworms should have worked, especially considering they sink and stay alive for a while. But something is killing them. Have you, I mean, this is not something I've done a lot of research on. Have you done any research about breeding bickers and what the fry needs specifically? Haley says, I turned down the temps a little to see if maybe they are too warm because she keeps her tanks around 80, 82, which everything else loves, but I don't know. Trying to think of what I might have that would have bicker breeding information in it. I might have something in an old TFH magazine. I mean, it's not going to do you any good. Do you any good then? Because if you're continuing to lose them, they're all going to be gone before I'll probably get credible information to you. But I would tell you that the fact that you have gotten this far is always a great opportunity to springboard further in the future. That now that you have gotten babies and gotten them to live this long, then you can further the experiment if you get more in the future by trying to learn from this experience. Hey, down the wormhole, welcome to the stream. There's not much info on the fry except they predate on each other, which I'm not seeing. They aren't eating each other, they are just dying. You know, my gut reaction is they're not getting enough oxygen in the water. That's one of the things that I think is always, and that would explain good flow in the sense that they need good flow. I just have to wonder if they need what I was talking to you about before, which is that glass plate, a quarter or a half an inch raised off the bottom of the tank. And it wouldn't have to be a very big plate. You could just do like a piece of a uh, uh, tank lid that, you know, like the smaller ones that you use on the back to cover the hole between a regular glass lid that opens up well water. Well, well water is not going to have the kinds of issues that some city water can have. But well water can also have its own issues. You can have certain kinds of bacteria present in still well water that you would not have in city water. It might not hurt to get that water checked if you haven't. I know that's an expense, but there are some places where you can literally get a water sample done by some company that's trying to sell you something so that you can get them to really do a good water analysis on a sample of your water because they want to sell you their water softener or they want to sell you their and I'm not saying that you do have a problem with your well water, and it wouldn't be a problem in any situation other than this, potentially. But, you know, this is the kind of thing that could be an issue with the ropefish babies, too. And bickers are probably as good of a breeding experience as you can go through leading up to and, you know, hopefully keeping baby ropefish alive. You're going to probably experience many of the similar kinds of issues. Um, you know, I don't think ropefish are as ancient on the lineage as bickers are. That's what I'm worried about is if I'm having trouble with these fry, it's probably going to be the same issue since they are so closely related. And yeah, I'd say that that's an excellent observation and that you are being given a wonderful chance to learn from this experience beforehand, before you're faced with the problem of trying to raise ropefish babies. You're being faced with the problem of trying to raise bicker babies. And I think so. Ropefish are the more ancient of the two. Ropefish are older than bickers because bickers are basically dinosaur fish anyway. They're almost as old as coelacanths. All right, well, you're teaching me something I did not know about ropefish, that they are more ancient than bickers. Well, if I was faced with your situation, yeah, they are living fossils. And that's why you need to keep those babies alive too. You need to learn to keep those babies alive. Um, maybe it's something missing. Maybe it's some natural in the wild thing that those fish, those babies get in the wild, and I do not have a clue. I'm just basically shooting from the seat of my pants here, trying to cast around. And I know you've been doing videos about this, and I have to apologize. My wife's been moving heaven and earth to get ready to go, so I've been basically out of touch for a week here, or 2 weeks, trying to get her set up and ready to go. So, well, that's a good initial reaction to understand that you've got a problem and that you recognize that flying off the handle and trying 50 million different things all at once is not going to help. It's always better to scientifically progress. Um, Haley, I will spend some time going through my libraries and seeing. I'm just trying to think of books that I have that will show bickers in their natural state. I've kept bickers. I've always been fascinated by them. Um, they can be really mean and they can be really sedate at the same time. I've kept them with 15-inch um, clown loaches, which are about as dangerous a fish as you can be kept around. And they did not have a bit of problem swimming around and living with those clown loaches. You know, clown loaches are dangerous. When they feel threatened, a 15-inch clown loach is a bunch of fish highly armed with spines on the sides of its head. Yes, yes, you're right. If it fits in their mouth, they eat it. Which is why I've always kept them with. I've had bickers maybe 3 times. So I usually kept them with larger fish. And they didn't have any problem at all standing their ground. They kind of ignore everything. They kind of act like other stuff isn't even around that they need to be aware of. So, man, I don't really know. I'll go back and watch your videos. I saw that you had a couple of videos out about this subject, and I'll try to go back and watch your videos and see if anything strikes me. And I'll dig around and see if I can find any kind of. You're wandering into areas that not a lot of people have experience in, Haley. You're getting into the margins of our hobby as far as breeding out of the way stuff. And when you do that, there's not a lot of previous experience to go on. And I say that, but there are people out there breeding bickers every day. So somewhere, someone has the knowledge that you need. Someone has the experience that you need. It's just you need to cast a wider net on figuring out who has that experience. And a lot of times the problem is someone has come at it like you, or they didn't write it down. Yeah. A lot of people are out there in the hobby that have worked their butt off, that have spent years experimenting to try to figure out how to do something, and they're reluctant to just give that up to someone else. Basically what they're saying is, I did it, figure it out yourself. I'm not going to tell you so that you know instantly how to do this. It took me 10 years of working with this fish to figure out how to breed it and how to keep those fry alive. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to give away my experience. So sometimes that's what you're dealing with in our hobby, is someone reluctant to give away their hard-earned effort so that someone else can do what took them 10 or 15 years to accomplish in a matter of weeks because they suddenly have the secret, you know. And you can't blame people for feeling that way. Hey, Pleco Whisperer, you can't hold it against someone that they've put all this effort in and managed to accomplish it, and then they're not writing it down because they don't want someone else to benefit from their experience, but you can blame them for not sharing their experience. They may want to write it up in scientific magazines. They may want to write it up in fish magazines, and they don't want to give away their thunder. So it's sharing is caring. Sometimes people don't care, Haley. They really, really, really don't care. All right, guys. Haley, I'm sorry that you've got me in an area where I am literally no help. That's, I've spent some time digging into ropefish, learning more about ropefish than I ever wanted to know. Because you are dealing with ropefish and trying to figure out what it's going to take to get them. Most companies, most breeders would immediately go about finding the pheromones or the hormones that they need to inject their fish with, so that they don't have to go through all the trouble of figuring out how to get their fish to breed. They're just going to pump hormones into the water and make those fish breed whether they want to or not, So just trying to naturally do breeding, trying to tick off all the boxes that need to be ticked off. Um, I don't know, Haley. Have you spent any time talking to Dean? Dean Tweedale? Dean is a genius about breeding things. And I would suggest to you that you find a way to email Dean or talk to Dean back channel. And Dean may have ideas. Dean's been breeding fish forever, and Dean might have an idea about what you're going through. He may just tell you, every Sunday is kind of happy. First, welcome to the stream. Well, Haley, you're going to have to bother somebody, because this ain't going to happen overnight for you experimenting on your own. You need emergency service. You need bother him. Dean's a good guy. For all of his Dean's just a good guy. Offer him one of your great grandmama's secret recipes and say, look, Dean, help me out here. An emergency line, Dean 911. Well, you might circumvent the normal channels. Are you Facebook friends with him? I can back channel him a message and tell him to try to help you out, to try to go to your channel and watch what you're going through, and to help you out if he can find the time. I'll try to do that. But if you're Facebook friends with Dean, back channel message him immediately, if not sooner. And I mean, you also have Eric Bodrock as a potential source of information, and even better, you have Eric Bodrock's wife as a potential source of information, and she might give you better information than Eric will. As you know, she is a breeder extraordinaire as well. Right. Well, I'm telling you to call in whatever markers you have and say, Regina, here I am. This is my issue. Please help me. Please put me in contact with someone that's been breeding bickers for 20 years and no one knows about. Regina may be the very person that you need to get a hold of. But I would pester the crap out of Dean. Um, he'd probably be angry with me before it was over and done with. But I would hug him and go on and just take him being angry at me for bothering him. Because Dean is one of those kind of people whose mind just works. His mind understands fish breeding about as well as anyone that I've ever seen on their feet talk about and think about breeding. For some reason, he gets it. He is the fish. He understands what the fish needs just by osmosis. And that's something that you can't pay for. That's something that you oftentimes can't learn, that it's just a native talent. And you can't really get around that sometimes. Okay, everything is kind of happy. Every Sunday is kind of happy. Venestus. Gosh, it's been so long. Um, usually Africans are, they're either in the right water and you can't stop them from breeding, or they're in the wrong water and you can't make them breed no matter what. So I would just ask you to make sure that you are offering them the water that they need to breed, that you are, and my initial reaction without knowing, without looking it up, is that they need really hard water, and that a lot of people offer them semi-hard water and they're looking for 600 TDS, not 200 TDS. But I would have to get a book out and look them up. African cichlids are not something that I am. And Haley, it looks like Tom Patterson's offering you a name from CCAC, who's a breeding guru. And that's basically what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to find someone that's already been down this road, Haley. And every Sunday is kind of happy. You when you figure out what it takes to get those Venestus to breed, you're going to be slapping yourself in the head saying, oh, that's all it was. That's the kind of issues that you're probably running across. They don't have the proper cave. They don't have the proper rocks. They don't have the proper substrate. They don't have the proper water quality. Something, and they're not getting enough of the right kinds of foods to cause them to go into breeding behavior, or it's just not the right time. Charlie Grimes. Yeah, he is a great killifish breeder. Haley, I know most of the highlights in the fish world shy away from my name because I've pestered them at some point. I've interrupted their dinners. I've I've called them down in front of a large group. I've I've been a pest when I shouldn't be. I've I've thwarted their plans to do something else by forcing them into a discussion about something for my own personal benefit. I know I've pissed a lot of people off trying to get the information that I need and not being very, um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Not brown nosing enough for it. You know, I haven't dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's in the world of fish politics, but I tried my best to go straight to the best source that I could. I'm not known for my patience, and that's probably not a great thing. You need patience when you're dealing with older gentlemen of the fish hobby who have been in a stratified club politics situation all their lives where they had to slowly climb the pecking order to get to the real information for years and years and years, and you come in and kick the card tower down and say, this is what I need, and I need it right now, and this is how I want you to give it to me. People don't really care for that. So my advice to you is to go after it as strongly as I would, but manage to do it in such a way as to not tick as many people off in the process. Try to be more politic about it. All right, guys, I'm not sure I've offered much help. Uh, I'm sorry for my failings in that area, but I'm going to wrap it up, and I hope some little piece of something has been valuable. I would once again suggest that all of you uh, check out each other. Most of the people that are in these streams are YouTubers as well and have their own channels and have a great deal to offer. So go check each other out. All right, guys, I'm out. Good luck with your fish. Haley, good luck with the hanging on to a few of those babies. You know, Bickers may be something that dies easily anyway. So you just never know. Maybe the hormones that were used to get those fish so amped up did some kind of harmful thing to them. All right, guys, I'm out. Have a good rest of your weekend.